So this morning I woke up to a pretty disturbing story. A Pennsylvania man, 32-year-old Justin Moan, beheaded his own father, and then he posted a 14-minute video online. The video was called Moan's Militia, Call to Arms for American Patriots. Gee, I wonder where he heard those words. I wonder where he heard phrases like that. I wonder where he could have possibly got an attitude like that. In the video, he talked about his dad and how his dad was a traitor to the country because his dad had been a federal employee for over 20 years. He called for federal employees to be executed. He went off on rants about the Biden administration, about Black Lives Matter, about the LGBTQ plus community. And he was arrested and taken into custody. The video was removed, but it was up for quite a while and circulated for quite a while until it was reported and came down. Now, last I read, the guy's not talking, is what I've heard. They said he's talking about other things, but he's not talking about what he did. That's the last I read about it. But as I'm sitting here reading this story, there's just a couple of people's faces and a couple of people's voices and a couple of people's attitude that just springs to my mind. I picture the MAGA Republican crowd out here constantly calling these people patriots, constantly calling these people hostages, constantly calling these people true Americans and making celebrities out of people like this. Now, let me go ahead and say this. There are people out there who are irrational, okay? But being irrational does not necessarily make you evil. There are people out there who are very gullible. But being gullible doesn't necessarily make you evil. These irrational and these gullible people, they will hear things on Fox News, they will hear all these conspiracy theories, and they'll spread them around because they're irrational and because they're gullible. Doesn't necessarily make them evil, though. These people are never going to storm the Capitol. These people are never going to run to the border. These people are never going to take up arms. They're never going to hurt a fly, and they're sure as hell never going to behead their own father. They're just going to continue to spread a bunch of shit around, and that's what we sit here on this channel and call out all the time. But meanwhile, sitting back on the fence listening is not just irrational people, and it's not just gullible people. It's people out there who suffer from severe mental illness. It's people out there who are sick and twisted and depraved. And it's people out there who are just plain evil. And they're watching what's going on, and they're listening to what's going on. And they constantly hear right-wing media and MAGA Republicans tell them that their kind of person is being pushed out, that their kind of person is being erased from history, and all these other groups with their agendas are coming after them. And these are people who are never going to amount to much in their life. They're never going to really go anywhere. And they start to develop this victim mentality. And then they look over and they see the people storm the Capitol. They hear Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump call them patriots, call them hostages. They see those people running for office now. And they say to themselves, gee, you know what? I can go out here and do something now. Hell, I can go out here and behead my own daddy, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to stand up and say that it was all right. She's going to say I'm a patriot. She's going to say I'm a hostage. That's the kind of stuff that gets in these people's mind. Now, I haven't heard yet if anyone in the MAGA world has heard about this story or called it out or said anything about it, but I promise you, when they do, more than likely what you're going to see when someone says, do you condone this or do you take any kind of responsibility for this, they're going to scream in the most hypocritical tone they can that we shouldn't judge just one person. We shouldn't judge them all just based on the action of one person. They'll say that, and then they will double down and they'll say, but people's voices aren't being heard. People is tired of the liberal agenda. And when they do that, they play right back into the hands of the kind of people like Justin Moan who did this to his own father. I'm all for freedom of speech, and I'm all for people having their platforms, and I'm all for people using their voice for the greater good. But when you sit and constantly stoke these kind of fires, and you constantly get these kind of people riled up, you're not doing anything for the greater good. You're not doing anything when you sit and you feed in to irrational people and their fears. When you sit and feed in to gullible people and their fears, that's bad enough, but you're also feeding into the fears and the paranoias of some sick and deranged people. Some people who are just plain evil are sitting back listening to you too. So I would love to see us just live in a world where you had a politician on the right, a politician on the left. They both came to the table. They both said their ideas. We said, gee, which one will work better? And we all went back home. But unfortunately, MAGA has infiltrated the Republican Party, and they've turned it in to this conspiracy theory crowd. And like I've said so many times, but for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm going to say it again. Remember when John McCain took the microphone away from the woman who said Barack Obama was a Muslim? And he said, no, ma'am, that's not true. He's not. He's just someone I disagree with. He's just someone that I'm running against. Well, those days are long gone. Those kind of Republicans aren't out there anymore, and if they are, they're not, a whole lot of them aren't saying much. What the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Donald Trumps of the world did is they gave people like that the microphone, and they cranked the volume up full blast. And the saddest part about this is this guy that did this horrific act to his own father, he got sucked right into something by people who wouldn't give him the time of day, by people who never had his best interest at heart, but by people who would continue to feed him whatever propaganda they could in order to get his vote. And this is where it got him.